Hello everyone. So welcome to a new French Tech Berlin lunch talk. So let me introduce myself. I'm Aurélie. I'm a member of the French Tech Berlin board. And it's very, very nice meeting you. Thank you a lot for joining us. So it's my great pleasure to kick off this discussion today. And I would like to, before we get into the heart of the topic, to take a few minutes to share with you what is French Tech Berlin, and as well to introduce, of course, our guests. So I will take this few minutes to do it. Let me just share my screen quickly. Okay. Hopefully you can all see it.
We see it already.
Thank you, perfect. So yeah, so French Tech Berlin. This, I mean, is part of the French Tech organization, which is, you know, the voice, I would say, in ears of the French government to ensure that we develop the French startup, but not only the French startup, but as well to build like a very strong European startup scene. And so that's why we, as a French Tech Berlin, are clearly a bridge for startup between France and Germany. And this is about to be a network and to be part of a huge, large ecosystem. So we are 45 community in France of French Tech, 63 abroad, you know, across all continents. And we are here to support French startups and entrepreneurs, but as well entrepreneurs who would like to launch their enterprise or their ideas into France. So it's not only one way, it's two ways, you know, support that we are here for. And I think the great thing with French Tech is that we are a direct connection with the Station F, which is one of the largest, if not the largest, I think, campus in Europe for startup program. And we also provide direct and simplified access to the French administration. So I think the key point here is like, I think by joining this talk, we would like as well to introduce you to a new community. We are actively present in Berlin. And that's why we are here, is to support you, your ideas, either in Berlin or as well if you want to go in France. So in terms of resource, we are 11 board members. And I think what defines us is that we are very diverse in terms of our expertise that we can share with you. So we have legal expert, we have CFO, finance manager, which are already working in the big Berlin Decathlon. We have founders, some of them will be part of this talk. We have as well VC founders to provide like expertise on funding, and as well, of course, tech expert in different domains. So we have AI, we have gaming. And because we have diverse team, we, as well as a resource to our community, we are approximately 1,000 subscribers in our community. We like to do like series of events to share knowledge. So today you are like lunch talk on female entrepreneurship, but earlier we did like some legal toolbox as well, sharing tips. And lately in December as well, we were the one to host the Scale Up Europe at the French Embassy with the General Secretary. So I think we are multiple hats, and we try to provide as much as we can to our community through different like media platform as well. So like I said, we have a newsletter, you have seen our LinkedIn profile, we have a website, and since now with the new, we say, things are getting a bit easy with COVID, we will do as well again like some you know, events in person. So this is a very active community. The talk of today, I think, starts with one of the statements. So, you know, French President Macron set one objective. He say in 19 and 20, we want to have 25 unicorn by 2025. Luckily, we hit this target in France much earlier than expected. But however, the second part of his statement was to make sure that this is not at the price of inclusion, gender equality, and of course, the planet. And when we, you know, step back, and I think is we look at this second part of the statement, and unfortunately, what we see is like we're not yet there. When it comes just some like one metric which like struck me is like 86% of the deal in 2021 across Europe were still raised by only all men teams. So, you know, I think there is clearly a room, and we do see it in the ecosystem to support further female leaders intake, but as well female women entrepreneurs and founders. We have a couple of initiatives as part of startup program. We see that dedicated incubator, and that's why today we decided to approach this part of this community, our female leaders, future female leaders and future female founders, and to share from experts, experts either by being founders themselves, but as well expert to be expert in this ecosystem, how to support women in this journey. And so that's why we have 5 tips to start a business in Berlin at the Female Entrepreneur for you today. In terms of guest speaker, we are lucky. We have a very nice mix. We have like 2 founders and CEO, so Floriane and Pauline. They will share their own experience, their own journey, and give you what they think is the 5 biggest tips that we would like to share with you. Then Alexandra, as a founder, but as well as part of the CAP program, will as well share some advice. If you are already having an ideas and you would like to develop these ideas, is like what you should think of, and kind of the walk through a successful journey. And finally, Sarah is joining us from Paris, where she's part of a very specific incubator villa, which is dedicated to women. And so she will share more about the mission of Villa, but as well how she can help you, even being in France, but as well to support, you know, any project that you have. And in terms of moderation, thanks to Anne, who is part of, who is working at Berlin Partner for Business and Technology, so of the city of Berlin. She has accepted to moderate this discussion, and I think given his experience, is really great to have her here. So thank you all again for joining, and let's kick off.
Thank you, Aurélie, for the nice introduction, and thank you for having me today as well. Very happy to be here. And maybe we just 2 organization notification. This is recorded, so if you have any problem with that, I think you should leave the room. But I think you are all okay with it. And second stuff or things to mention, you will have the Q&A at the end. So please feel free to use the chat box throughout the discussion. Aurélie and I, we have an eye on it, and we will gather the questions afterwards. But now I will say, let's start with the ladies today. And I would like to start, first of all, with Floriane and Pauline. Maybe you can just, in order to start the discussion, just tell us more about why you choose entrepreneurship, and maybe also why you choose it to do in Berlin and Germany as well. Maybe it doesn't have any specific like background, but maybe you have choose it especially. But it shouldn't be an advertising for Berlin. But why you choose entrepreneurship first of all, and why you choose to do it in Germany. So maybe Pauline, with you we start, and then we will go forward with Floriane afterwards.
Yeah, thank you, Anne. Thank you, everyone. Hello, love to see that the room is full today. So yeah, my name is Pauline Roussel. I am the co-founder and CEO of Coworkies. I didn't really choose entrepreneurship, I have to say. I think it kind of chose me, or something, some relationship happened between entrepreneurship and me, because I actually used to run a co-working space in Berlin that was called the Rainmaking Loft. Maybe some of you remember it. It was a co-working space targeted at early stage startup entrepreneurs. And I think seeing those startups every day going through the ups and downs, I got hooked. And I was like, I think I want to try that too. And along the way of seeing the co-working world and how co-working functions, I got really interested in understanding how, what kind of impact co-working spaces have on people and cities, So we've done a very extensive research on this, and I think we'll talk about it in a bit. But as to the second part of your question, why Germany? I think for me, it just also came very naturally. I was already working for a company in Berlin, so I didn't really question why should I do it somewhere else. So I was like, okay, I want to do my own things. I'm based in Berlin. I have built my network in Berlin because I was working for this co-working space for like 3 years already. So it also came super naturally to say, let's just do it in Berlin.
Thank you, Pauline. And Flo, what about you?
Hi, everyone. First, sorry if my connection is very bad right now. So why entrepreneurship? Well, maybe it's linked to the fact that I have parents that have been entrepreneurs for like 20 years, and I was 5 years old when they started. So I kind of knew what entrepreneurship was, and they start from nothing. And at the end, they were having like a company with 50 people to manage. So I guess I knew the pros and cons of being an entrepreneur. And then I studied in Berlin. I did my master degree here because it was a little bit cheaper than in France, and also because I studied abroad before during my bachelor. So during my master, I wrote my thesis about the sharing economy and the fashion industry. And it gave me this idea to build a co-dressing, which is a rental service for women to rent designer clothes and accessories with a purchase option. And then since I was here in Berlin, the capital of sustainable fashion, it made kind of sense to do it here. I was also having my boyfriend here and so on. So that's also why I decided to stay, but we still also deliver to France. And we have a shop in Berlin, and hopefully in the future, I would like to have another shop, but in France.
Thank you very much. Very nice to hear. It could be like, yeah, it could be, you could be chosen by a country and by the position as well. So yeah, and just to go on, how did it start for you, ladies, in Berlin? When was it, and what was the starting point like? When was it, and what did you do first at the very first? What was your very first step?
I don't know if you want to start, Pauline, or I go.
Yeah.
Go. I just went to the previous question, so I'll let you answer this one first.
Yeah, okay. So, well, as I said, I mean, I studied here in Berlin, and I wrote my thesis about already the market. So it started like that, but still before I worked for a startup in Berlin that is now not a startup, Berlin Brands Group, because I also wanted to get some experience before starting a business. And I also wanted to start slowly to work on the website because it was a bit complex to build the website. So I was doing those two things at the same time. And then I decided to quit my job to finally focus 100% on it. Well, unluckily, COVID happened. So I struggled quite a lot at the beginning, I would say, wrong timing. But then it got better. And I was hesitating at the beginning, when you don't have resources, to take interns, and some people told me no, because you will spend a lot of time explaining. Some others were like, well, Flo, you cannot do it on your own. So I actually started to take interns, and that's how I started to build the business also.
Thank you, Floriane.
On my end, it started in 2017. Actually, I started from a co-working space, so I also had my job in a co-working space as the director of it, and then together with a member, we started to see the pain points of like what was not working in co-working. And out of many things we are doing for co-working, one of the things we saw is that in the world of co-working spaces, jobs are really misunderstood. And there was no platform to educate people about jobs in co-working spaces. So what are people actually doing when we talk about a community manager? What are people doing when you talk about operations in co-working? So to solve that, we decided to create a job board targeted at co-working spaces and flexible workspaces. So it means that if you run a space like factory or any Berlin co-working space you might know of, and they have a job opening, I mean, it's a job board, so they post it and then we promote it among our community, but also we raise awareness about those jobs. So it means that we educate people to what is a community manager, because community managers in co-working spaces, they don't do social media. They actually manage people and manage a community like in person. So that's what it does. And your question was about the how we started, or?
Yes, what was your first step?
I mean, for us, the first step was really to look at the market and what was missing. We didn't want to we didn't want to bring something that was already existing. And we saw back in 2017, when the co-working industry was really growing, that there was no job board at the time. So we thought we could make a difference by bringing a job board. And that's how we went on with it. I mean, and since then, since 2017, we've been, I mean, we'll talk about it in a minute, I guess, but we've learned a lot also, and many things have happened. But for us, this was the initial thinking, yeah.
Yeah, thank you for you both. Maybe you can, because we would like to share today also very concrete tips and tricks. Maybe you can just share. I mean, Pauline, you have to wear awareness about what you do actually, and you, Floriane, it was a struggle with the timeline, I think, because of COVID. So maybe because of these two specific questions, did you had any support, so for very specific support here in the city, or someone who helped you a lot? What would you recommend? What was your facilitator maybe? Do you have any very concrete example? What helped at the very first place?
I mean, for me, being part of a co-working space was a tremendous help, I have to say, because, you know, like surround yourself with the right people. For me, this is very important. And I think being a part of the community of entrepreneurs was very helpful, because I was very new into this. I didn't know much about entrepreneurship. I looked at it because I was managing people who were entrepreneurs. But then when I became one myself, I suddenly became part of like their community, and they have helped me a lot in my own journey. So they gave me a lot of tips. They told me already what they have been through as struggle, like how to register a company, and like many things that I actually think I saved myself a lot of hassle from surrounding myself right from the beginning with the right people. So if we have ladies in the room who are thinking right now about starting their own companies, I would really say Berlin is a great playground with co-working spaces targeted at entrepreneurs. So find the one that can really suit your needs, or suits your the kind of product you want to develop. Because for me, this was really helpful.
Thank you, Pauline. And what about you, Flo? What did help at the first place?
Yeah, I mean, I won't disagree on the fact that you shouldn't stay alone. I stayed alone too long, in my opinion, now that I see it. Yeah, you really need to be surrounded by experts and people that have contact, because it really makes a difference. Like, people say it, but when you are into the business, you really see it. When someone already did a mistake, then you can avoid to do it. And sometimes I did mistakes because, yeah, I was alone and no one to guide me. And actually here in Berlin, I got some support from Emploi Allemagne. I don't know if Anne-Christelle is here in the talk, but it was good help, this program, but also mainly for contacts, I would say, and like exchange about experiences. And now, for example, co-dressing is also part of a European program, a small companies to be like they give money, but it's not the main point here. For me, the main point is like having this mentoring with the experts that is really great. So it's really my first tip also.
Network and mentoring at the very first place.
Yeah.
And for both of you, because both of you mentioned mistakes, so maybe you can like mention one mistake you would like to share with us and with the crowd. Maybe it helps also the others to not do this one.
Well, on my side, as I said, it was really the fact to stay alone. I mean, I was working with developers, but I mean for like all the operational stuff, like having a physical shop and handling like a website, social media. I mean, for one person, it's impossible. So it's really the main thing in my opinion.
For me, I would say don't open a GmbH in December. That was a very big mistake we made, and it was also a very bad advice we got by an investor who told us, yeah, you can open a company in December, yeah, right. And then when the tax authorities come to you because you open the GmbH on that specific year and you see the amount of money you have to give, you like, why did I listen to this person? So do your research on that note and don't open a GmbH in December. That's probably, yeah, my biggest learning out of the whole German bureaucracy.
Yeah.
But also for people who are thinking about a tech product, I would say try on the tech part, specifically if you look long-term and want to raise money and build a tech product, don't externalize that part. Don't try to build it at first. Like, I know it's really hard, but try to find a technical person in your team with whom you can build that. Externalizing to agencies, and I've seen it many times. It was not our case, but this is the learning lessons from many of my entrepreneur friends in Berlin who used agencies to build their products. And then there were so many issues, legal issues, when who owns the code, and then investors not wanting to invest because you don't have a technical person in the team. So this is also for me something that people should be more aware of. When you start, try to really have a technical person in your team.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. Because like I started with a developer, and then we were like, okay, maybe later I can be part of the company. And now I'm having some issues with him, and right now I'm trying to. We are discussing with my current developer to onboarding in the team, because I started to talk with investors, and it's this that always comes back on the table. Like if you don't have the CTO inside like someone that is really in tech inside the company, it's almost impossible to raise funds.
Mm. So basically be focused also on the team and how you would like to develop it, and with which focus, I think, which kind of people you should have on board, right? And because you mentioned investing, Floriane, maybe a few words about it, because we all know for women and female founders, it's just struggle to get any finances. Maybe sometimes we are not so self-confident enough to ask for it. But what is about you, ladies? Did you ask? Did you choose to ask for finance? Did you choose to pitch during pitch competitions? What is your strategy there? And do you have any advice about financing?
Can I go first, Floriane, or
you want? Yeah.
So on our side, we made the conscious decision to be bootstrapped. So in the technical terms of startups, it means not going for VC funding. It was not an easy decision, but I think it comes also with the learnings that sometimes I have the feeling that startups ask for VC money too early when they don't have a product yet, they don't have a product market fit. And the moment a VC enters your company, their expectations are probably very different from yours, because they want the 10x or they want the growth very fast, and maybe your company is not ready yet. And for us, we didn't want to end up in that situation. So when we started, we made the conscious decision to go bootstrap, which has taught us a lot also. It's much harder, I won't lie, but for us, it was really, really interesting. It didn't mean that we didn't have VC conversations. Actually, something I forgot to say, a great helper for us was Berlin Partner, from who you work. And Berlin Partner runs a lot of programs. And thanks to Berlin Partner, for instance, we went to New York for a month. And we actually had VC meetings there, which were really amazing. And we learned a lot from the dynamics happenings during VC meetings in USA. And then we had the same kind of meetings here in Germany. And this was very different. I think in Germany, in general, VCs are much more KPIs and number driven. Whereas in USA, we felt they buy more the story. I know we are running a bit out of time, so I don't want to talk too much about that, and maybe we can discuss it during the questions. But for me, this is the path we chose.
Very nice. Thank you, Pauline, for sharing. And Floriane, what about you? Oh, we lost.
So we're on the path right now, because as I said, the idea. Can you hear me?
No, yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. I said, well, right now the main focus is to onboard my business developer. So we are not like right now talking with investors. First, we are working on an agreement between both of us. But like in the future, the idea would be to go probably for a business angel first, which is like amounts that are a bit lower, and also because I would like to have someone that comes with an expertise and with contacts also. That would be the perfect match. So we are still on the way, so I cannot really talk about how it's going on about fundraising. We will need to do another talk about that in 1 year maybe, and I would be able to give some tips about that.
Yes, there is a lot that we can discuss actually, and I have a lot of questions on my paper, but we have to go on. Thanks a lot for sharing, Pauline and Flo, for now, and then we can. I think maybe we can discuss for deeper in the discussion and in the Q&A afterwards. But now I would like to go on with Alexandra, because you, Pauline and Flo, you did already build up your business here in Berlin. But we also have we mentioned about the timeline of what is right to do, when should we do that and how. So we will we heard also a lot about like finding the good person, finding the right network, being in the community so that you can get feedbacks on your products, on your on like about people who can help you to do the next steps. And I would like to hear now from Alex, from your experience, what are the steps we should have to keep in mind when we are willing to build up a company, when we have an idea, but we are like maybe not sure if it's the right time or how to do it. So I would like to ask you to share us more about it, because you are like a founder yourself, but you also are working with SAP on programs helping startup to grow. So please, can you share with us some tips in order to start the business?
Yes, thank you. And so extremely happy to be here today. I am actually part of the SAP IO Entrepreneurship team. So I focus every day on corporate entrepreneurship, and I help hundreds of entrepreneurs every year to start from having an idea until the investment stage. So I've seen a lot of best practices and 5 specific steps to take from having an idea until the investment step. And so to launch your business, you need first to start with inspiration, then ideation, then validation, acceleration, and then the takeoff, which is when you're actually launching the business or looking for funding, and therefore pitching in front of investors. So I'll run through each steps, and I think I'll take the example of a startup that I funded internally at SAP a few years ago to illustrate a bit more, because I know that examples are always useful. So starting with inspiration, I think it's very important, where your idea is coming from. And so it's important that you get inspired about everything around you, and especially about amazing founders like the ones that we have on the call today. I was really inspired about Floriane's story, for example, and that's also how I started Xploratopia, launching with the video, a video that we've made with Floriane. So I was inspired by her story and mixed it with my passion, and then we've done this video, and now I launched recently Xploratopia, which is a collective helping entrepreneurs to make video pitches. And so I really realized that there's a need there. There's a need where people actually have difficulties. They have a pain, and the idea is to help them by being creative and using your inspiration. So what really matters is not about the idea that you have, but it's more about where the idea is actually coming from. And so talking about the venture that I started at SAP in 2018, we were working with the healthcare industry, and I was personally working with doctors, hospitals every day for their software, because SAP is a software company, and we're helping companies to better run their businesses, to be more efficient every day. And so when I went to my customers, I was asking them, what do you struggle with? How do you see the future of your industry? What are the pain points that you have today? How do you see the future of your job yourself? And this kind of inspiring questions really help you to understand how do people project themselves and what do they really need. And so talking to these doctors, they were trying to figure out how could we speed up clinical trials to speed up fight against cancer. And so the problem is that, of course, cancer is a big problem. There's too many people waiting for treatment or a new medicine. And so how can we help them to speed up the process, right? And to make it easier so that we get the medicine earlier on the market. And so we went deep down into the processes that they had these days. And we realized that they're spending too much time on the preparation of the clinical trial. They were complaining always about the amount of time they were spending during overnight or during the weekend to work on this. And this pain that they expressed, which was measurable, was something that really drove us towards that topic. And we finally identified a problem that we could solve. And so inspiration starts by discussions, and ideation is the second step to take. It's the step where you start identifying a problem, but you're not sure it's a big problem. But then by customer discovery, by having interviews and meeting as many people as you can that could have this problem. So you're specifically trying to see if this problem is repetitive and if it's the same persona having this problem. Then you start realizing yourself that this is probably a problem at scale, or it's not only about 1, 2, or 10 people having this problem, but this is something that you could solve for many people. And so you start small, right? You start thinking about how could you make the difference, but with, let's say, a little amount of resources or effort. And then how can you think big and think about an idea that could, have a big impact actually on the long term, if possible. So the ideation phase is really about letting it go, being as broad as possible, but start focusing on the real problem after identifying it. And then you start the validation phase very quickly. I would say very quickly, and that's also a tip that I give, because a lot of people spend too much time ideating and thinking about the business that they could do, and they start being very creative and like under shower thinking about, oh, that could be great. Yeah. And if we do that on the top of that and so on. But the idea is that start small, start with some assumptions and try to validate them as soon as possible. And the earlier you do that, and the better you will manage your time. Because if you spend too much time working on an idea without validating it, then you might take like longer and like too much time realizing that this is maybe not the right problem or the right solution to focus on. And so validation is usually happening at the very beginning, after, I don't know, maybe a few weeks or months ideating. And you want to keep that validation feasible for yourself. And I would advise to take 8 to 10 weeks to validate your assumptions, starting with the problem, right? So you really want to address the problem, make sure that this is the right idea, learn more about this problem, and understand the personas, understand who you want to sell to and who's going to use this solution. So the buying persona and the end user are not necessarily the same people sometimes, especially if you want to build a startup. So, a technology oriented product. So this is why it's important for you to understand who are the stakeholders, who are the people deciding, decision makers are the ones that are going to put money on the table at the end of the day. So that's something that you really want to keep in the scope since the very beginning. Then after identifying persona and experimenting with them, you really want to start thinking about your solution, have a little prototype, or if it's an IT solution. If it's just a business, like a regular business, no technology oriented, you can just, start sending surveys, start, I don't know, for example, with Floriane, we were discussing with that business angel, and he provided the advice of opening a pop-up store for a week to try to test if the problem of not getting as much customer as we want is because of the location, or is it because of the visibility. So when you have problems yourself with your idea and you don't know exactly what is not working well, you really want to test and try out small things that can give you a result quickly in your analysis to be able to move forward quicker. And pivoting is very important as well, because if you start with an idea and this idea is not changing from the beginning till the end, it's a very bad sign. It's a very bad sign because you really want to take the feedback from the customers, take a distance with your own idea, and don't fall in love with your ideas. That's also a common mistake that entrepreneurs make. They're so passionate about what they want to do, and they're so enthusiastic about their own idea that they really want to push it. And so asking the wrong questions to potential customers, or you really want to, you really want to hear the truth, and you should be able to rather fall in love with the problem than the solution. So it's and this is the reason why it's important that you develop a unique insight about the problem that you want to solve. Market analysis, understanding what is your value proposition, how much are you, because you're going to be an alternative of how to solve this problem for sure. We have a lot of entrepreneurs starting a business and thinking that there is no competition and their solution is unique, but this is totally wrong. You always have an alternative out there. So know your market, know the alternatives that are existing, know what are their prices, what are their flows, talk to customers that are using these solutions today, or these products, these services, and understand how you could improve that 10 times more. Then the business model is definitely something that you want to spend some time on, and this is something that you will constantly reiterate on. You don't have the end answer starting your business, right? And this is something that is constantly evolving and that you should keep in mind. So timing, recommendation, validation I was mentioning is for me up to 2 months, right? Because you really want to validate as fast as possible before starting accelerating. So acceleration can be done in different ways, but the most important thing is always to have a mentor with you. We mentioned earlier in the call about mentoring, and I can confirm that this is probably the best thing that you can have, and if possible, since the very beginning of your project. Having mentors on the topics where you have gaps or the topics that are crucial for your business. So there's different types of...
Can I just ask and jump
yes.
in and ask you where to find these mentors? What would you like to, what would you recommend to search?
So just there and go on LinkedIn, find amazing ladies that were successful in the industry that you want to work in, that you want to develop your business in, and reach out to them. And of course, don't reach out to one, reach out to 10 of them, and maybe 2 or 3 of them will come back with a positive answer. And it's also by, going to networking events, talking to people that you know around you. You should not underestimate your own network and the ability of your network to bring you towards the network that you really want. I know we're running a bit over time, but I wanted to share just about the SAP IO No Boundaries program, which is regarding inclusive entrepreneurship, so supporting more female founders and women in the industry of IT to launch their businesses and accelerate them by making connection, expanding knowledge, and finding a mentor as well. So we're exploring everything regarding finances as well, strategy, investment. So you can find the link in the chat that I am putting right after my talk. And about the takeoff, just to close up on this topic, it's the team is definitely the first thing that investors are looking at. And Floriane was mentioning that I cannot agree more. If you want to develop a startup with technology, you need someone that is an expert in this technology. You need someone that is a developer. If you're launching a business in a specific industry, you need to have a deep understanding of this industry. So people want to see people that are experts in their topic, and this is where you create reliability, confidence, and all of that. If you're interested in the topic, don't hesitate to reach out to me also personally. I'll put my LinkedIn profile in the chat if you want to connect.
Thank you very much, Alex. Thank you very much. Very useful, I think, insights. So you go through these 5 steps: ideation, validation, acceleration, validation and takeoff, acceleration and takeoff. And now I had a lot of questions about maybe we can also speak about it in the Q&A afterwards, about if you saw any differences between like female founders and male founders, but I would like to go deeper into these differences with Sarah, because Alex, you mentioned these timelines, and there is some, or there are some structures, infrastructures helping us to go through these steps, and then I will go would like to go on with Sarah, because I think you are one of the organization that can help to do these steps that Alex mentioned. And also maybe we can go further with you on this topic, being a female founders, knowing what are the challenges for female founders, maybe mention what they are and also what are the solutions. So yes, Sarah, I would like to maybe you can like start and say, how can Villa help? Villa is in Paris, but we have also similar structures in Berlin. But now we would like to hear about you. What are you doing, and how do you help female founders within the journey of building up a business?
Thanks. I think the advices which were given just right now were really good, and I think you have to take notes about the 5 steps, because it's really important, and it's what also a thing that we do in our programs. So to introduce me really quickly, I'm Sarah. I'm a director of programs and development at Willa. Before I was an intellectual property lawyer. So what was said also about product, about titularity of your product is very important. I could agree more about the things that was said before. You have to build your product internally to have a really good value of your company. So about Willa, we were founded 17 years ago. We are a non-profit driven by one idea. Inclusion is innovation. Every year we help more than 400 women and 70 to 80 startups in all innovative sectors. So it can go from a marketplace selling urban cycling accessories to a startup innovating in the blockchain. We have various development stages in our programs. We go from idea, inspiration and validation, funding of startups, and then growth thinking strategies. And we have currently a question that people ask, why Willa? Why typically programs for women, and why we must put more emphasis on support for female entrepreneurs. So the big idea here is, first, it's a core principle of gender equality, and there is also an impact on productivity and competitiveness of the economy if we overlook half of the population. So by increasing equality and diversity, we all benefit, women and men, we all do. So it's really important that making sure everyone leans in a way that's beneficial for all of us. Do you want more idea about our programs? Because we are running a bit late, but in fact, what Alexandra said before is what we apply in our support program. We have workshop, networks, events. We have also individual meeting with experts. When a startup have a specific issue, like a marketing issue or a legal issue, we have experts who give times 1 hour or 2 hours of their time to help the startup. They don't do for the startup, but they give advices and specific advices to help them.
So for example, I'm a startup founder and I have an idea. I can come with you with my idea, or what? How is it going? How is it like? What is the first steps to do?
Yeah, we have programs, so you have to apply first for the program, and we have also meeting with startups to help them to know what advancements they are in, because sometimes startups think they are more advanced than they are really. So we help them to find the right program for them. After that, they apply, and we have jury, and we select it depends for the program. We can select a cohort of 20 women, a cohort of 10 startups, and after, it depends also from the programs, but you can be supported for several weeks, several months, or 1 year. And when you reach out to Willa, when you enter to our network, the most important thing, and I think, I don't know if it's Pauline who said that before, but you are surrounded by entrepreneurs. You are surrounded by peers, and you can exchange between each other, and that's what is the more important, I think. And when you are a woman, you face challenges that are not the same as male. Financing, structural sexism, imposter syndrome, lack of networking, lack of role models, and being in a networks specifically built for women, it's really important and it's really essential. And you are twice lucky to be successful in your company if you are surrounded by the right person and if you go to a program.
Yeah, thank you very much, Sarah. Yeah, I read actually in the Female Founders Monitor 2020 that there is much more female founders that are solo, much more than males, and that might be like the sign that there is a big lack of network, and therefore I would like maybe before closing out, like Sarah, maybe can you mention, do you know, is there any specific differences between Paris and Berlin, or we are almost the same there with this?
So we share the figures to prepare the webinars, and in fact we realized that it's quite the same, and figures are quite the same. I will share with you, but female teams in Germany are 10% of the total of entrepreneurs, and in France it's 8%. So it's 2% less, but it's quite the same. Female entrepreneurs in Berlin are facing really bad difficulties to find financing, and it's quite the same in France. In France, no woman has raised more than 50 million this year. So in Series A and Series B, there is women, but after that they disappear. So it's and we talk about fintech, AssureTech, specific fields where there is tech and technical field or technical specificity. And in those fields, there are more women. I think 5% of them in Paris. I don't know the number for Berlin and for Germany, but it's really it's lower than in the general field of entrepreneurship.
And the field of fintech in Berlin is 3%. CEOs, yeah. But yeah, thank you very much for the fact and figures, Sarah. And we all see there is a lot of work that still to do. And before opening the discussion for the few last minutes, I would like to wrap up a bit. So there is a lot of work to do, but it's cool and very important to be aware of it. Actually, maybe we have boundaries in our mind and we don't are aware of it. So maybe sometimes it's good to keep an eye on it and have a reflex yourselves about it. But yeah, the points I just would like to list before discuss it with all of you is like all of you said, like don't stay alone. Floriane and Pauline said again and again. So open network, build it up, and see which kind of resources you can have it there. Please don't be shy to have support and have mentoring. Very important. Alex told us throughout the timeline there is a few key points, and mentoring can help you to go through these steps, and it's very important. Don't be shy. Have use your LinkedIn and your network and for it as well. Have a specific focus on your team, especially if you are looking for funding, but also if you have a sustainable growth. It's very important to have the good people on board. There, I think it's very important to use your network as well. I think it's there where you can find the people you need. And be aware of the timeline. I mean, COVID, you couldn't expect it. Floriane, you couldn't know it could come, but yeah, Pauline, Christmas is here, and maybe someone, Christmas is every year, and someone, it was a very, very bad advice. So be aware of the timeline, but there again, have help from people that can make the difference in order to see what could be the challenges there. So it will be my wrap up. I think there are lot of other things to mention, but Aurélie, I think we are like running out of time, right?
Yes. So
Aurélie, can I just say something else?
Yes,
we didn't talk about opportunities that you have as a woman, but
exactly.
now that the subject is visible, and now there are initiatives that are made for you, for women, competition, specific funds, programs for women, and you can reach out to those initiatives, and maybe it can help you to develop your company.
Yes, no, thank you a lot, Sarah. It will have been as well one of my closing notes is like there are a lot of support, focus, like what you said, Sarah, initiative in Berlin, in Paris. I want to pass a message that there is a very strong message now that we want to create like bridges more and more between the two countries. So I think, don't think that, oh, I don't want to approach this program because it's based in France and I'm in Berlin. I think this is completely in the past. I think now the present and the future is really to see bridge. And whereas like we see like incubator and program like Willa, there's as well some dedicated fintech, financing, a program only for women. So what I will say is like to close, we have 1 minute. Thank you a lot for joining all. We couldn't do the Q&A, but please reach out to us. All of this, I think we have a LinkedIn profile. You have the French Tech website that you can follow us. We are going back, like I said, on doing this kind of lunch talk, but as well physical events fully soon. Yes, welcome to the community, I would say. Hopefully it's the beginning of a journey with all of you, and we will be great to hear if you have any story of your startup coming soon. I think please share, and again, thank you a lot, and thank you for Pauline, Flo, Sarah, and Alex for sharing expertise, and Anne, thank you a lot for keeping us honest to the timing as well. Okay, have a nice one. Bye.
Bye everyone.
Thank you.